Chapter 1. Sanctuary Breached. The comforting scent of old paper, fading leather, and a stubborn hint of mildew filled Beatrice's bookstore. It was her sanctuary, a fortress against a world brimming with people. Out! She hissed at a tabby cat perched precariously near the top shelf, a first edition Austen clutched in its teeth. Heathen beast, I swear your only goal in life is to drive me into an early grave. The cat, Lord Nibblesworth the Nefarious, self-appointed title, narrowed his eyes, unimpressed with her dramatics. The doorbell's jarring jingle was no less intrusive than a dragon crashing through the fantasy section. A flustered woman clutching a tattered paperback hovered in the doorway. I'm looking for that, werewolf romance, the one with the Fabio-haired alpha? Beatrice sighed, a familiar pang of martyrdom settling in her chest. Third aisle, bottom shelf, between the brooding vampire chronicles and the sparkly mermaid saga, and please touch them only if absolutely necessary. She returned to alphabetizing the classics, ignoring Nibblesworth shredding a discarded bookmark with a hint of gleeful malice. Just when a moment of blissful solitude seemed possible, a swirling vortex shimmered into existence beside the mythology shelf. Absolutely not, she declared, brandishing a worn copy of Beowulf. I have delinquent patrons, a backlogged order for incantations, and you won't survive a day in the wilderness. Now down from there. But it was too late. With a defiant yowl, Nibblesworth launched himself towards the glowing anomaly. Beatrice lunged, Beowulf forgotten, but they both vanished in a swirl of light. Chapter 2. Wrong genre, same problems. When Beatrice could see again, she was sprawled in a field of alarmingly purple flowers, Lord Nibblesworth glaring at her from atop a mushroom. A suspiciously cheerful bluebird perched on her head, chirping, "Welcome to Flutterby Hollow, chosen one." "Wrong genre," Beatrice muttered, yanking the bird free. This wasn't her kind of fantasy. She steeled herself for noble quests and world-ending threats, but her first challenge was, "There's this terribly grumpy troll who's been blocking the path to the enchanted turnip fields," squeaked a rabbit in a waistcoat. "Your timing is impeccable." Beatrice held up a hand. "Listen, Whiskers, or whatever your name is, I'd love to help, but I have overdue invoices and a neurotic cat." She scooped up Nibblesworth, who promptly hissed in her ear and surveyed the sickeningly cheerful clearing. "Where's the nearest interdimensional vortex? I'm going home." Chapter 3. The Unwilling Hero. "Fine," Beatrice grumbled, snatching Nibblesworth back from a baffled Whiskers. "Keep your precious turnips, I'm out." She stomped off in a random direction, muttering dire warnings about delinquent invoices and the catastrophic consequences of unfiled book orders. The path twisted through a field of talking daisies that whispered overly enthusiastic greetings, then dipped into a small valley. Beatrice scowled. The air here felt heavier, and the flowers were a less offensive shade of blue. Or was that just wishful thinking? Ahead, a low, rumbling sound echoed through the valley, shaking the overly perky daisies to their roots. Beatrice froze. That wasn't the grumbling of her neglected stomach, but something far larger and distinctly grumpy. Rounding a bend, she collided with an imposing figure blocking the path. A troll, easily twice her height, glared down at her with beady eyes. "Out of my way, puny creature," it growled, its voice like boulders tumbling down a mountainside. "Oh no," Beatrice moaned. "I really don't have time for this." She whirled around, only to trip over a disgruntled Nibblesworth. With a yelp, Beatrice went sprawling, sending a suspiciously round rock tumbling down the slope. The rock bounced twice, then struck the troll squarely on its big toe. A howl of pain split the air. The troll hopped on one foot, clutching its injured toe and letting loose a string of curses that would make a hardened sailor blush. Tears welled up in its beady eyes. Then, with a whimper, it turned and fled, disappearing into the trees with surprising speed. Silence fell, broken only by the daisy's relieved sighs. Beatrice blinked, slowly picking herself up. Nibblesworth sat regally on the offending rock, a smug expression on his furry face. Whiskers burst into the clearing, eyes wide with excitement. "You did it!" he squeaked, hopping around her in frantic circles. "The legendary toe stubbing of the terrible troll. A feat for the ages," Beatrice groaned. This was ridiculous. This was her life now, apparently, and she hadn't even had her morning tea yet. Chapter 4. The Wizard's Woes. Word of Beatrice's triumph, or rather her spectacularly timed stumble, spread through Flutterby Hollow faster than a dandelion seed on a strong wind. Avoiding the celebratory parade, complete with flower petal confetti and squeaky trumpet fanfare, required cunning Beatrice hadn't realized she possessed. Desperate for a moment of peace, she ducked into a crooked cottage with a sign proclaiming Whizzlebeard's wonders, potions, and prophecies. Anything to escape the talking butterflies currently attempting to braid her hair. The shop's interior was a chaotic symphony of bubbling cauldrons, overflowing bookshelves, and jars filled with unidentifiable substances. Behind the counter, an elderly wizard with a beard resembling a bird's nest blinked owlishly at her. "Aha, the legendary toe stubber," he cackled, nearly dislodging a precariously stacked pile of vials. "Come for a prophecy, have you?" "Actually," Beatrice said wearily, "I was hoping you had a potion to send me back to my bookstore." The wizard's smile faltered. Well, you see, there's a slight mishap with the transdimensional toadstools. Supply chain issues, wouldn't you know?" He cleared his throat. "But I happen to have this experimental elixir." Before Beatrice could protest, the wizard thrust a vial of alarmingly pink liquid into her hands. She sighed, visions of overdue invoices fading away. Might as well make the most of this ridiculous dream. With a gulp, she downed the potion. The world spun, colors blurring into a kaleidoscope of absurdity. She felt herself shrinking, then soaring, feathers sprouting from her arms as she transformed into a disgruntled-looking pigeon with a copy of Beowulf tucked under one wing. When the whirlwind subsided, she was perched on a grimoire, the wizard gazing at her in awe. "Remarkable," he chirped, "a transfiguration spell with a side effect of spontaneous flight. This requires further study." Beatrice just wanted her comfy chair and a strong cup of tea. Chapter 5. Rude Awakening. Suddenly, Beatrice was falling. The world spun, a dizzying blur. Her frantic squawks turned into a startled yelp as she jolted awake. Gasping for breath, she sat bolt upright, heart hammering in her chest. Beatrice blinked, sunlight streaming through the familiar window of her bookstore. Nibblesworth sat beside her, a look of smug satisfaction on his furry face. Her fingers brushed a stray feather stuck to her sleeve. Or was that a bit of errant bookmark fluff? A cold cup of tea sat on her desk, a forgotten casualty of yesterday's chaotic events. Beatrice groaned, wiping the drool from her face, slumping back in her chair. Some dreams were simply more exhausting than others. At least in this reality, overdue invoices were the worst of her problems. Hey there, thanks so much for watching. I hope you found this video interesting and enjoyable. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps out a lot. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, and hit that bell icon so you won't miss any of our future videos. If you have any thoughts or questions, feel free to drop a comment below. I love hearing from you all. And if you're looking for more content to enjoy, check out our other videos. You might find something else you love. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.